Is the EGR Rolltrac tonneau cover the best tonneau cover you can buy for your Jeep Gladiator? I've got 3 reasons why that might just be true, and if you stay tuned, we're going to check out one secret hidden feature you can only find on the Gladiator version of the Rolltrac. Hey, Rob here for Quadratec. Yes, today we're going to be taking a look at the features and walking through the step-by-step installation of the Rolltrac tonneau cover from EGR for the 2020 and newer Jeep Gladiator JT. Not only is this tonneau cover one of the smartest and most advanced tonneau covers on the market, but it can be conveniently and easily operated at the simple push of a button right here from the rear corner of your truck. That's right, the Rolltrac is a feature-packed, powered roll-up tonneau cover. Now, as I mentioned, this cover features 3 main features that I think set it apart from everything else on the market. Not only does it have a high level of weather resistance, but it is super strong and one of the most secure tonneau covers I've ever seen. And we're going to dive into each one of those features over the next few minutes. Now, in order to achieve those 3 things, EGR had to construct the Rolltrac from nothing but the highest quality materials. In fact, all of the tonneau cover slats, as well as the bed rails and even the end caps, are constructed from high quality, heavy duty aluminum, finished in a satin black UV stable powder coat that's not only going to protect those components from corrosion, but keep them looking great for a long time to come. Now, moving down, we can check out the Rolltrac canister. This is constructed from an impact resistant, injection molded reinforced plastic. EGR does this for a number of reasons. For one, it allows them to keep this canister as small as possible for the least amount of intrusion into the bed area of your Gladiator. While other manufacturers may construct this out of aluminum or steel, when you're loading gear into the bed of your truck, you don't want to have to worry about denting or damaging that canister, which could impede the operation of your roll-up tonneau. That's just not something you have to worry about thanks to the impact-resistant, heavy-duty reinforced plastic construction. Now, there are also 2 inspection doors, one on each side of this canister, that can be opened to allow you to lubricate the coils of the roll-up tonneau, as well as to clean out any dirt, debris, or leaves that may make their way under the canister cover. And from these inspection doors, we can also view to make sure that the 2 drain tubes are clear. Now, the canister is constructed with a gentle slope outwards to help funnel any water that makes its way into the canister to the sides and through those drain tubes down under the bed of the Gladiator. As we come around the back of the Gladiator, we're going to find 2 additional drain tubes, one at each of the rear corners of the bed on the bed rail sides. Now, these are here to direct any water from the tonneau cover down into the channels on the bed rail sides and out the bottom of the Gladiator's bed. While no tonneau cover can be 100% waterproof, that frankly is boiled down to the construction of the pickup truck bed itself. Things like the tailgate just don't feature any weather seals from the factory. The combination of the drain tubes, all of the sealing on this tonneau cover, and even each individual slat on the retractable portion not only interlocks but features its own individual weather strip. All of that is going to add up to give you the highest level of weatherproofing possible, helping to keep any of the cargo or gear you have stashed back here in the bed of your truck clean and dry and out of the elements. I also like to add that you can still operate the tailgate independently from the Rolltrac, giving you the flexibility of simply opening the tailgate to load or unload any gear without having to retract the Rolltrac tonneau cover. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the overall strength of this cover, and it comes with a very impressive 700-pound weight capacity. Now, a number of things add up to give us that level of strength. For starters, the actual retractable portion of the tonneau is rated over 300 pounds of weight capacity. Now, while EGR doesn't suggest you actually carry any cargo up here, that's more to handle things like heavy snow load during the winter months. They've thought about how you're going to carry that cargo on top of the cargo cover. And they've given us these really great built-in T-slot mounting rails down each bed rail cap. Now, if I retract the cover, we can also talk about how they're actually mounting the Rolltrac to the bed of your Gladiator. You're not going to find any flimsy clamps used here to secure this to the bed of the truck. Only these hard mounted brackets and fasteners that securely bolt the Rolltrac to the bed of your Gladiator using the factory trail rail cargo tie-down points. Now, if your truck didn't come equipped with the trail rail from the factory, have no fear, because EGR includes a set of extruded aluminum bed rails that mount in the exact factory locations as the factory trail rail system, a great added feature and bonus to the Rolltrac system. Now, once we have everything securely bolted and mounted down, that's going to give us that weight carrying capacity right here on the bed sides of the truck. Not only can we install things like EGR's Sport Bar or even their bed rack, but because of the universal design of this T-slot, you can easily mount things from popular manufacturers like Yakima, Thule, and Retractable, like maybe some recovery board mounting brackets or even some crossbars to carry additional cargo, bike racks, or maybe even a rooftop tent using this built-in T-slot mounting track. Not only makes it very easy, but also gives you a very attractive and finished look when you have your accessories mounted to the Rolltrac. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the security provided by the Rolltrac. Now, while any tonneau cover can help keep things stashed away out of sight, out of mind, right? Nobody's looking at your gear you have stashed in the back of your truck. If you're really concerned with a high level of security, well, the Rolltrac definitely provides that. You might be wondering, we've got these buttons to open and close the Rolltrac easily on the exterior of the vehicle. What's going to prevent somebody from simply opening my tonneau cover up? Well, the wiring system of the Rolltrac actually ties this tonneau into the locking system of your vehicle itself. So when we are away from the truck and lock the vehicle, we no longer have power provided to these buttons, and the tonneau cover is going to stay in whatever position you've left it, whether that's open or closed. And if we really think about the overall heavy-duty construction, this solid aluminum slats and aluminum side rail, and the fact that it's bolted down and that our tailgate is locked once we lock the vehicle, you're really getting a very secure area to stash away all of your cargo and gear when you're away from your vehicle. Now, when it's time to regain access, all we have to simply do is unlock the vehicle, and now we've got power again provided to the Rolltrac. We've also got some additional ways to operate our tonneau cover. Because it is tied into the locking system of the vehicle, we can also control it right here from the vehicle's key fob or even from the lock switch found on the driver and passenger door. By simply pressing unlock 4 times, it's actually going to open that tonneau cover up for us. At any point, we can stop it by pressing a button. Now, if I press the lock button twice, it's actually going to close the tonneau cover for us. I'm going to demonstrate something else. We need to think about the safety of that tonneau cover. Check that out. I can put my arm in there without any fear of it crushing, pinching a limb, hurting maybe a small child that may inadvertently reach into the tonneau cover while it's closing. It's going to sense that added force and back up. And that's where the level of intelligence comes in with the Rolltrac. Not only does it have that safety feature built in, it's also monitoring your vehicle's voltage, and if it drops too low, it's going to stop operating the tonneau cover to help retain that voltage so that you can start your vehicle to get home. We also have a manual override found at the canister that we can simply push in. And by pushing in that clutch, we can now manually open and close the Rolltrac. Once we have sufficient power back, we can simply pull that clutch back out. You will have to go through a recalibration procedure quickly, and then we can continue to operate the Rolltrac by any of the power options provided. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have one secret hidden feature only found on the Gladiator version of the Rolltrac, and to check that out, we've got to go up closer to the cab of the truck. Tucked up here at the front of the bed, in front of the Rolltrac canister, underneath 2 locking latches, we've got an additional cargo storage compartment. This is a great place to maybe stash away some recovery gear or tools that you want to keep in your truck, or heck, you could even turn this into a cooler on the go. There is a drain plug right there in the center. Fill it full of ice and anything you want to keep cold. It measures in at just over 4 feet wide, 6.5 inches front to back, and 9 inches deep. Should give you plenty of room to stash away anything you need convenient access to. Another great added feature, as if all the others weren't enough, to the EGR Rolltrac. Now, the installation of this tonneau cover is pretty straightforward. It will take you just a little bit of time, maybe a few hours, to get this installed, and you will need the help of a friend because the tonneau cover does come in weighing at about 100 pounds. To get started with our install, the first thing we need to do is prep the bed of the truck. The first thing we need to do is remove the front trail rail if your vehicle was equipped, as well as any additional accessories that may be mounted to the front bulkhead of the bed. We also need to remove any existing weather stripping that's in place from a previously installed tonneau cover. Next, we'll need to remove both the driver and passenger side taillights. Start by removing the 2 screws, holding them in place. Then simply pull the taillight towards the rear of the vehicle to remove it, unplug it, and set it aside. We'll be drilling 3 holes in the front bulkhead of the bed to allow for the pass-through of the drainage tubes and the wiring. If your vehicle has a spray-in bed liner, it can be helpful to apply some masking tape so that you can easily mark the location of these holes. Using the measurements provided in the detailed installation instructions, we'll mark the location of our first hole on the passenger side front of the bed. We can center punch the hole and then start with a small pilot drill bit. Next, we'll enlarge the hole with a 1.5 inch hole saw. Be sure to apply some paint to prevent any chance of rust from forming on the freshly drilled hole. Next, we'll move to the driver's side and again apply masking tape so that we can easily mark the location of the 2 holes that we'll be drilling. After marking both locations using the measurements provided in the installation instructions, we'll follow the same procedures of center punching and then starting with a small drill bit first as a pilot hole so that we can come back with our hole saw. The lowest hole again will be an 1.5 inch hole saw, while the upper hole that we marked will be the smaller 1 1/8 inch hole saw. After deburring any metal fragments from the holes and cleaning up any of the metal shavings left in the bed, again, be sure to apply some paint to prevent any rust or corrosion. Next, we'll be drilling 1 additional hole at the rear corner on each side of the bed. Again, we'll apply some masking tape and use the measurements provided in the installation instructions to mark the location that we'll be drilling. We'll start by center punching the hole, and we can drill these out using the 1 inch hole saw. Again, be sure to apply some paint to prevent any chance of rust or corrosion from forming. We'll be applying some clear silicone sealant to the bed rail caps on both sides of the pickup truck bed to help prevent any chance of water intrusion once the tonneau cover is installed. Be sure to run the silicone around the front edge and inside edge of the bed rail cap trim and down the top few inches where the front meets the side of the bed. We'll also be filling a few of the holes that we will not be reusing with silicone, again, to help prevent any chance of water intrusion into the bed once the tonneau cover is installed. Next, we can install the header bar on top of the front of the tub, press it down and secure it with the 4 M6 screws. Next, we can install the rear drain tubes by passing them into the cavity left exposed by removing the taillight. We need to install the drain tubes behind the inner support structure. Start by feeding them down and then passing them back up behind the structure, lifting them out of the holes that we previously drilled. You can repeat this on the opposite side as well. The drain tubes can be trimmed at the line marked on the drain tube. We'll pre-assemble the front mounting bracket on our workbench before we install it. Attach the datum plate to the bracket using the shoulder bolt as well as the 2 screws and washers. The shoulder bolt can be torqued to 1.8 foot-pounds, while the screws should be left loose at this point to allow the datum bracket to slide front to back. We can also mount the forward 2 channel nuts with the screws provided, again, leaving them loose at this time. We'll also pre-assemble our side bracket assemblies by inserting 2 screws through the outermost holes and threading them into the channel nuts, again, leaving everything loose at this time. Now we'll install the front bracket into the bed by sliding the channel nuts into the existing trail rail installed on the vehicle and bolting through the front bulkhead into the existing threaded nut. If your Jeep did not come with the threaded nut already in place, you may have to install a nut cert before you can install this bracket. It's also worth noting at this time, if your Jeep did not come with pre-installed trail rails, you will need to first install the side mounting rail assemblies included with the kit. We can also install the side bracket assemblies. There will be 2 on each side by slipping the channel nuts into the trail rail mounting bracket. We'll leave everything loose at this time so that we can move it forward to back once we install the tonneau on the bed of the truck. At this point, we're ready to begin installing the wire harness in the Gladiator. As you can see, you get a front to back wire harness that allows for an easy plug and play style installation. Before you begin, you'll want to familiarize yourself with the 3 main legs of the harness. One that we'll be installing in the engine bay of the vehicle, one that gets routed into the cab of your Gladiator, and one final leg of the harness that will be routing down into the bed of the truck. Before you begin your install, it's very important you make sure you remove both of the fuses in the inline fuse holders. This is to ensure that there's no chance of accidentally shorting out any of the circuits while we're running this wiring. Now we'll begin in the engine bay, making our positive and negative connections. Starting at the inside of the passenger side fender, we can connect our ground wire to the ground post. Next, we'll connect our positive leg of the harness to the positive terminal on the battery. At this point, we can route that wiring across the engine bay, securing it to the factory wiring. Then we'll drop this harness down just inside of the engine bay behind the driver's side fender flare. Continue routing the harness underneath of the vehicle. We'll be accessing the interior of the cab through an existing rubber grommet found in the floor just underneath of the driver's side seat. Reaching under the seat, we can lift the 2 layers of carpet, exposing the drain plug. Simply pull the drain plug from the floor and we can reach underneath the Jeep, passing the wire up into the interior of the vehicle. Next, we'll start by drilling a hole into the factory drain plug to allow us to pass the wiring through. Pull the wiring through the hole in the grommet that we've just made until the pre-installed rubber grommet snaps through the factory drain plug. At this point, we can reinstall the drain plug into the floor of the Gladiator. Next, we can remove the B-pillar trim surrounding the rear door wire harness connection. I'll also be removing the lower door sill trim so that we can neatly route the wiring. Using the included Scotch lock connectors, we need to connect the 2 wires from the T-patch module to the rear door wiring harness. You can attach these just above where the connection is made on the B-pillar. I'm going to trace this wire down closer to the floor and make my connections here so that there's no chance of them being snagged when pulling on that driver's side seatbelt. Locate the light green wire with the green trace from the vehicle harness, and using a Scotch lock connector, we'll connect the orange wire from the T-patch to this wire. Next, locate the purple wire with the green trace, and we'll connect the brown wire from the T-patch module, again with another Scotch lock connector. Next, we'll install the 4 pre-terminated wiring leads into the provided connector, following the diagram provided in the installation manual, or by simply matching the wires to the T-patch harness. With them inserted, we can now connect the wire harness to the T-patch module. After routing the wiring away neatly to ensure that nothing is snagged by the movement of the seatbelt, we can now reinstall the lower trim. We'll also install the upper B-pillar trim that we previously removed. At this point, we can continue routing that wiring underneath the vehicle, securing it in place with zip ties every couple of inches, and then we'll feed that wiring harness up between the rear of the cab of the Gladiator and in front of the bed. We can feed this wiring through the uppermost hole that we previously drilled, and again we'll find another pre-installed rubber grommet that will seat into place in that hole, leaving this wire harness until we come back with the tonneau cover installed to make the connection. Next, we can move on to the pre-assembly of the tonneau cover before we install it on the truck. We'll be using the shipping box to support the tonneau off the ground while we complete our assembly. Start by pushing in the clutch release switch so that we can pull out the first few slats of the tonneau cover. We'll start by making sure that all of them are in line with each other. Next, we'll install some tape over the side rail weather stripping to keep it held in place while we slide the two assemblies together. Starting with the right-hand side or passenger side rail first, we can begin by sliding the first couple slats of the tonneau into the channel on the side rail. Then it can be helpful to lift the side rail up to about a 45-degree angle to pass it under the motor, sliding it all the way back in place until the mounting holes align. Secure the canister to the side rail with the 3 provided screws. Next, we'll slide the left-hand or driver's side rail onto the canister in the same manner, sliding the first couple slats of the tonneau into the channel on the side rail until the mounting holes align with the threaded inserts on the side rail. Loosely secure it in place with the 3 screws. At this point, we can remove the tape that was holding the seal in place while we slid the slats of the tonneau into the channel provided. After turning the tonneau cover right side up, we can remove the 3 pre-installed screws on the back side of the canister. Align the front cover with the slots on the left and right hand side rails and slide it into place, ensuring that the foam tape and rubber seals on the cover are not damaged. Secure it in place with the 3 screws we previously removed. You'll find some weather stripping wrapped around the side rails and tucked into the extruded cavity. Pull out the weather stripping to prepare for the next step. Again, ensuring that the tonneau cover canister is supported up off the ground using the shipping box, we can begin installing the cargo utility box to the left and right side rails. Just as we did with the canister cover, we can slide the utility box into the side rail channels, ensuring that the foam tape on the left and right hand side is not damaged. We'll secure the utility box to the canister with 5 screws from the inside of the toolbox. After flipping the tonneau cover over, we can secure the utility box in place with 1 final screw on each side of the cargo box. At this point, we can also trim the foam seal to length and attach it from each side rail to the cargo box, ensuring that the foam tape makes contact with the foam tape existing on the cargo box. Next, we'll make our wiring connections on each side of the canister, and following the diagrams provided with the installation instructions, we can route the wiring and secure it to the provided mounting locations with the included zip ties to ensure that none of the wiring is snagged during the installation of the tonneau cover on the truck. Make sure to remember to connect the lamp connector as well on the right-hand side of the canister. We can fit the rear side rail brackets using the M6 screws and leave them loosen at this time to allow for adjustment while we're installing the tonneau cover. We can also install the mid side rail bracket as well using the same M6 fasteners, again leaving the bracket loose for final adjustment. We can install the front datum brackets to the side rail just to the side of the cargo canister using the M6 shoulder bolts, Loctite, and spacers. Tighten the M6 bolt until there is just slight movement on the datum brackets, as we will not be able to access these bolts once the tonneau cover is installed on the truck. Fit the 2 provided drain tubes to the holes provided in the canister. Secure the drain tubes to the tabs on the bottom of the utility box. Install the rubber perimeter seal into each side rail, ensuring the seal is firmly seated in place, trimming it to final length matching the side rail. With the assistance of a second person, we can lift the Rolltrac tonneau cover into place, setting it on top of the bed of the Gladiator. It can be helpful to rest it on the front edge of the truck bed while we make our final wiring connections. With the connections made, we can now lower the tonneau cover down into place, resting the side rails on the bed sides of the truck. Using a tape measure, we'll take some diagonal measurements to ensure that the tonneau cover is square. We'll also take some measurements across the back of the truck and start by marking a center line on the tailgate between the truck bed sides. We can then use this marking to ensure that the tonneau cover is centered side to side. Lift the rear side rails slightly to install the drain tubes onto the fittings on the side rails. You can secure them in place with provided zip ties. It may be necessary to slide the side mounting brackets to align with the mounting tabs previously installed on the side rails. Secure the side rail mounting brackets to the base rail mounting brackets with the M6 screws. Repeat this at each one of the 4 locations for the mounting brackets. The 2 bolts on the datum brackets on each side can be accessed and tightened through the cargo utility box. By removing the plugs on each side, we can install a ratchet through the access holes to securely tighten the fasteners in place. We'll connect the front drain tubes to the tub by pushing the tube through the 1.5-inch holes that we previously drilled and then pulling them back towards us to fully seat them in place. At this point, we can now install the 2 fuses in the fuse holders of the wiring harness close to the battery. The last step of our install is to calibrate the Rolltrac tonneau cover. We'll first start by pulling that manual override clutch to the out position, and then we'll hold both buttons on either side of the rear corner of the rails to put it into the calibration mode. The light should begin to flash slowly, and then the tonneau is going to go to the fully closed position first, and then cycle back to the complete open position, at which time the light should remain solid, letting you know that it successfully found the open and close endpoints and the calibration has been completed, at which time you can now begin operating your new tonneau cover. If you want to get more information or to purchase an EGR Rolltrac for your 2020 or newer Jeep Gladiator, you can click that info button to head over to Quadratec.com. Of course, if you have any comments or questions about the Rolltrac or how to get it installed on your truck, you can always do those for me down in the comment section below or by simply heading to Quadratec.com. Of course, if you haven't already and you like these videos, do me a huge favor, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as the notification icon so be sure to catch all of our latest videos. Till next time, I'm Rob. I'll see you out on the trail.